when it gets down to where you're like 30 seconds left to go. As I know you all have a lot to say, and I hate to shut anybody off because it's your day, and it's our purpose of being here to listen to you. But Mr. Hawkins, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, Chairman Kelly, Ranking Member Moore, Chairman Smith, thank you for having me today. This is my 7th time testifying before Congress, but my first time testifying before the Tax Subcommittee, so I really thank you. And it's a special privilege for me to be testifying again in the heartland, as I was born and currently reside just an hour and a half west of here in Cleveland, Ohio. And I appreciate your comment, Representative Moore, that Cleveland is not a mistake on the lake. It's part of that freshwater kingdom you described. And so I really appreciate you all allowing me to be a part of this. So I am co-founder and president of the Opportunity Funds Association, a trade association whose members are entrepreneurs, investors, developers, and fund managers operating in opportunity zones. Opportunity zones are arguably the most successful community development policy in American history. So this afternoon, I would like to discuss how opportunity zones are targeting private investment in areas of the country that have been deindustrialized, and how tax policy can be used to build domestic supply chains, encourage reinvestment, and renew prosperity in places like Erie, but also in the often overlooked rural communities across this nation. Prior to co-founding OFA, I served as Majority Staff Director for the Senate Finance Subcommittee on Energy, Natural Resources, and Infrastructure, and as tax counsel to Senator Tim Scott, where I helped to champion the Investing in Opportunity Act, which became Opportunity Zones. Analysis from the Economic Innovation Group, using data from recent studies at UC Berkeley and our Treasury Department, found that by 2020, OZs had already achieved unprecedented geographic reach and scale. So just 2.5 years after zone designation, nearly half, or roughly 3,800 communities across every state had received investment, with those investments being among the highest need communities in the U.S. And so how can Congress help to reinvigorate and bring prosperity to Heartland? Well, first of all, we need to urge President Biden to abandon plans for any tax increases. Working families are already seeing tightening budgets and higher prices. Over the past few years, consumer prices have risen 19%, 40% for electricity, 30% for gasoline, 46% for car insurance, 51% and 30% for baby food. And so adding to this, the Tax Foundation estimates that we would lose 788,000 full-time jobs and 2.2% of GDP if the president's fiscal year 2025 budget were enacted, his proposed budget. First, do no harm. In terms of opportunity zones, as Representative Moore indicated, it is critical and perhaps the most important step that Congress can take to optimize sustainable growth in opportunity zones. We need to pass a bill adding reporting and transparency requirements such as those found in the Small Business Jobs Act and those largely mirrored in Chairman Smith's Opportunity Zones Transparency Extension and Improvement Act. And so that is critical. We also need to jumpstart rural investment by allowing for intermediary investments in what are called feeder funds, which will enable more investment from smaller qualified opportunity funds in a fund-to-funds model that, again, will enable smaller, regionally focused, impact-oriented funds that are more likely to invest in rural areas and also solve the problem that Representative Moore noted with only large investors being involved in the process. And so we can solve that today. And lastly, we need to enact legislation, as my fellow witness noted, to extend this great policy. With that transparency and reporting information, we'll be able to better understand how opportunity zones are performing, and then you and Congress can tweak that to make this great policy even more effective. So I appreciate you having me today, and I look forward to hearing from my fellow witnesses and my discussion with you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Sporer, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
I'd like to start today by thanking Subcommittee Chairman Kelly